Going for 3 straight. They are in good shape, and it is that Scuderia Ecos Ferrari that leads the way over the Peterson White Lightning Krone Porsche. As we see the French car, the French team, the French driver Franck Montagny for Pescarolo. Next year, boys, I don't know if you've spoken about this already, but it will definitely be France against Germany again, and it will certainly be a French manufacturer against the Audi, because massive news this week that Peugeot, if you haven't heard, are coming with an HDI diesel next year. Now, David, this is going to be a coupe. They're going to have a 100-degree 12-cylinder 5.5-litre engine, and we've got problems here for the Lister, and they are going to go head-to-head with the diesel prototype with Audi next year. That will be fascinating.
They're talking about 650 horsepower out of that, plus nearly 1,000 pounds-feet of torque. The 100-degree angle on the cylinders is to get the weight of the engine low, and that's going to be a big effort by Peugeot next year. So if Audi are still around, it's going to be a massive battle.
Beretta's in pit lane, Calvin's there.
He's going to be doing a double stint down here, Lee. They're looking at tyres. Still a little warm. Probably going to change tyres in. They've got the guns at the ready. So once the refueling is complete, Olivier will do a double stint. The tyres are only doing a single. Once the temperature cools down a little bit, I think we'll see some of these GT1 teams and GT2 teams attempt to double stint these tyres. Everything looks cool here with the lead car in GT1. Let's go down to Andrew.
The pace was very hot. The pace was very hot indeed.
Yes, we start really quick, but unfortunately we are a bit slower at the moment. But we have still to push until the end, and just to see if we can do something. It seems to be quite difficult at the moment because they can do 2 more laps than what we can do, and they are still quicker. So wait and see.
Okay, you just had Sebastian Loeb is getting in the car. You just had Sebastian come and ask you a bit of advice, and what did you tell him?
Yeah, he asked me if the track was okay. I said yes, no problem.
Well, thanks very much, guys. We've got a bit of a problem with our signal from here. And let me tell you, I had to wait for that interview because the person who was interviewing Manu Collard before was one of his old teammates who used to drive for Pescarolo, Frank Lagorce, who's now joined the TV ranks.
They're all out there. My old co-driver Jean-Pierre Jabrier in the Matra back in 1972 was also, I just ran him out in the hall, and look at this, the 61 car.
Yeah, Tim Sugden.
Flat tyre.
Tim Sugden in the Sarthe Russian age Ferrari.
We've seen what damage those tyres can do too. If you go too fast, they come unglued. They can do an awful lot of damage to the bodywork.
He's got a long way to go.
An awful long way to go.
And we saw the other Ferrari had the same kind of problem, rear tire damage. I don't think he'll make that back to the pits without doing a lot of damage. I mean, it's
too far. He's only just started on the straight.
Tim's enjoyed a good year so far in the FIA GT Championship. He won the most recent round in GT2 at Bruno. Back with more from Le Mans in just a moment. Reminding you that AMA Superbike hits speed tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. The AMA Superbike races into Salt Lake City. 2 wheels, 1 winner. Don't miss it. It will be exciting. The AMA Superbike Championship tomorrow here on Speed from 4 Eastern. Meanwhile, we continue to talk 4 wheels because this is the legendary 24 Hours of Le Mans, brought to you by Michelin. And Alex Yoong is out of the Racing for Holland Dome Judd, the Malaysian, his first experience at Le Mans, and there is his first stint at Le Mans, out of the way.
He's done a terrific job. When he got in after they had the stop-and-go penalty for, well, the drive-through penalty for Jan Lammers, they were late coming out because he came in early. The Dome with Young at the wheel was down in 11th spot, and he's just getting out of it in 5th. So, done a very good job.
And this, of course, is the lineup of all former F1 drivers. Stefan Johansson, Alex Yoong, and Jan Lammers.
Now there's that getting away, you know, got to rev the hell out of the thing and not spin the wheels and not spin the clutch too much, of course, obviously, because you soon burn that out.
Of course, you can't burn out the tires. That means you have to ride the clutch, and they don't like that.
Not when you got to stop 23 times or thereabouts.
That car is in a very strong position at the point where Alex Yoong pitted. It was a top 5 contender, and over the years, they have not been known to show some good endurance reliability. Never quick enough to spring a surprise, but reliability has been a feature, so we'll see if that continues. Just the one car for racing for Holland this year. In years gone by, it has been a two-car entry with the now very familiar livery. Stefan Johansson behind the wheel for his first stint. Calvin.
Down here at Semco Motorsports, Johnny Molan just jumped out, running third. Johnny, things look pretty good so far.
Oh, as you well know, Calvin, from your days driving, it's early days yet, and we're just keeping out of trouble, running as a quickish race pace of 58s, 59s, and just hoping that that's going to keep going. If we can keep that to the end without any problems, then we'll be in with a shout of a podium or maybe better. But the car's running brilliantly. The boys have worked so hard. And the only issue we've got at the moment is the rear fender keeps on unclipping and it's flapping at high speed and giving me quite a big vibration, anything over about 120 mile an hour. So always makes it feel like you've got a flat spot in the tyre, but you just drive through it.
Bell was also talking about something where on the blip on the downshift, you were struggling a bit with that. What was happening in the car?
Yeah, this gearbox is quite fragile in terms of the gears and the dog rings of similar hardness and materials, so you have to really protect the gears. And my blips weren't big enough on the downshift, so they came on the radio, told me I had to flip bigger on the downshift, which I kind of knew was an issue because the brake pedal is actually in the wrong position. It's kind of moved since we started the race for the throttle. And the way I heel and toe is very different to the way Terry does. And obviously Christian left foot brakes, so he doesn't have that problem. So I just had to slow up my braking a little bit, make sure I got it sorted so that I don't do any damage.
All right, mate, thanks a lot. Good luck.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Just a quick update on that. Of course, they have changed gearbox. This is the first appearance for this team this year. They have gone to the X-Track transverse box, the same that is used in the Corvette. And in fact, the Corvette team have been helping out this team a little bit with gears and such forth. They have a lot more supply down with the Corvette team. Let's go down to Andrew.
Yeah, I'm with Frank Montani. He's just been debriefing with Andre de Cortans, the designer of the car. Tough, hot stint, Frank.
Yeah, well, 3 stints with this kind of temperature and those kind of car, you know, it's not easy, especially when you fight against a big factory like Audi, but so far it's not too bad. The car reacted quite well. We got a little bit of understeer. I think it's quite normal because the temperature are quite high and well, it's difficult to say really something for the moment. I think the Audi are a little bit quicker, we are a little bit slower, but it's 24 hours, so it's cool.
Yeah, Manu was a bit despondent about the speed of the Audi.
Yeah, me too. They overtook me very easily, and well, there's nothing we can do, you know, now, and the only thing we can do is to work a little bit and try to improve our stint and to be very regular, and maybe wait for one of the mistakes. We'll see.
Thanks very much. He's going to push. Calvin.
Okay, down here with Peter Dumbreck. Peter, it's been a long time since that spectacular flip that you had in the Mercedes. How does it feel to now get back in a race car here at Le Mans?
Funnily enough, I was just thinking about that. I'm going to take, I think, a couple of easy laps to begin, bed myself in, and then we're on an easy strategy at the moment, just taking it easy. So I just make sure the car stays in one piece and make sure I finish my drive in one piece, and let's see how the next 24 hours go.
There's a certain irony in the fact that you returned to Le Mans with the Spiker Squadron. I mean, these guys built airplanes several years ago, but this car has really come on gangbusters. You put the roof on the car now, it seems to have a lot more downforce, a lot more comfortable to drive, I would assume.
Yeah, I think it's made big steps. Even from the test, the pre-test, we've gone a bit quicker here this weekend. And Tom Cornell, he looks like he's driving easily. He's doing decent lap times. So I think we're all very happy.
All right, mate, great to see you back.
Thank you.
There he is, Peter Dumbreck, and it is great to see him back. I can tell you that it was rated number 4 on the list of Speed's top 10 motorsport moments. That unbelievable flip in the Mercedes in 1999 by that man right there. And Greg Creamer, Sam Posey and David Hobbs had the call.
Here is that battle once again, and that Porsche obviously blundered the attack by the Mercedes, but it has gone again!
My God, there it is, it's into the trees.
Right! Unbelievable! That is what we have seen twice already this weekend, and that one went off track.
That is just devastating. They, of course, will have to withdraw instantly the other car. There's no question of doing it now. We have just seen one of the most dramatic moments that you will ever see. It's the second time in history that a Mercedes has actually left the track here. The other time back in 1955 with disastrous results. The other two times here in the last few days, the car actually stayed within the bounds of the track. But this one is off in the woods.
Here's the replay, and again,
Mercedes right behind the Toyota, just in that dead air area.
And look at that. That's exactly the terror of it. Thank fortune it did not hit the bridge, but you could see how high up it got. It looks like it may have landed on its wheels. This could have a happy ending yet, but of course it's much too early to say. Mercedes is linked with Le Mans, partly through tragedy, partly through grand achievement. But this is a moment that will certainly not be quickly forgotten.
And that was one scary ride, but it did, as Sam Posey led to, it did have somewhat of a happy ending, because that man there was taken to a local hospital, but I can remember I was here for Network 10 Australia and I interviewed him the very next day, so he was able to walk away, and he was a very, very lucky driver.
Well, it did come down right side up, and but when you see it again, it was the most amazing thing. He was tucked in behind that Toyota, just round that next corner, not this one here, but just after that there is another right-hand sweep, and there's a little kink, a little lift in the road, and it just got it all wrong. And wow, what a sight. I'd forgotten how bad it was.
I remember.
That's it right there, right there.
I remember standing behind the booth when that thing took off and thinking, oh my God, what was that? Nobody could even believe it. Nobody would even acknowledge it at first.
And of course that was the second that weekend, and of course they immediately pulled the other car.
I just saw Mark Webber last weekend in Silverstone as finally Tim Sugden gets the 550 Maranello back to pit lane, and I said, hey, I'm off to Le Mans next week. I'll see your old teammate Peter Dumbreg. He said, say hi to him for me.
Give a high five.
Yeah. Webber was the man who set that trend in '99, wasn't he? When we come back, Greg Creamer will be joining the team.
And it's about to come to its climax. A car weekend for every taste. We'll be back.
Tonight on Speed. The greatest automotive endurance race in the world is back. 24 hours of Le Mans.
Big slip right there. Unbelievable. Whoa.
Grueling, intense, unmerciful. Catch all the action this weekend from start to finish as Speed brings you live coverage from the 74th running of this prestigious event. 24 hours of Le Mans continues tonight.
Speed's coverage of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans is brought to you by Porsche. Porsche, there is no substitute. And by Valvoline, test on the track, trusted on the road. Hi everybody, great to be with you. There's a look at the Audi pit. Greg Creamer joining David and Dorsey up here in the booth. And a good look there at the number 25 RML Lola.
About time you came to
work. A very
work.
strong run.
Andy Wallace taking it onto the road.
Yes, old Andy, who's once again having a very busy season over in the U.S. And great to see him get an opportunity with a top front car here. And apparently this car just made a stop down in pit lane. And Chris Neville, you got some information on that for us.
That's right, Greg. Andy Wallace had just brought the 25 machine to pit lane, currently leading P2. These are our defending champions from last year. Now, word is that they are having some boost pressure problems with the car. This was just a routine stop. They did pull some data from the car that they're going to take a look at. However, the team is leading. There already are other problems within the P2 category. We've seen the Intersport team have some issues here, so already some attrition in this category. Andy Wallace may have a couple issues in that 25 car.
Well, that's very interesting, because the problem, as I understand it, with the Intersport car was possible wastegate, is what they're saying. Was they made a fix on the wastegate and that solved it, which could be, again, boost related. And Dorsey, you've talked earlier about the stresses that that little engine has to go through, and it's boosted immensely
Yeah,
and to get through 24 hours.
Liz Halliday was reporting to us that that it was into an overboost situation. What happens, of course, it's regulated. The wastegate regulates how much pressure that the turbocharger can make. And when it goes into overboost, it goes into a fail-safe mode, and that's why it was shutting it down like that. So they've got that fixed, and that's good. Happy birthday, Greg.
Thank you, Darcy.
Yes, absolutely. Talking about overboost. Back in the late 70s, I was driving that BMW 4-cylinder turbocharged 320 turbocharged, and the wastegate stuck at your racetrack at Braden. And it went like hell down the straight, but only once.
Yeah, I bet it. Then the pistons were all laying around.
It gave 1,000 horsepower for about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, that car in upshifts, as I recall when you were driving, it didn't go straight a whole lot in a straight line, because when that turbo lag, when it finally came up on the boost, it was all over the place.
And lots of flames came out the side. It was really good fun to watch.
It's an interesting stat, and I don't know, I'll be honest, the specific numbers, but in that 8-yard, that little 2-liter turbo with the 4 cylinders, they're saying that with the boost they're running, the horsepower per cylinder was pretty much right on that of a Formula 1 V10 engine per cylinder. I mean, just immense power that little thing was making.
It probably is. There is old Andy Wallace, good head-on shot. He comes into the Indianapolis left-hand turn, a slight bank. The old guardrail used to be right up to the edge of the road there, down to Arnage. Always a big crowd down here. The village is just to your left.
Of course, that's a new car.
Normal every day. That's normally a crossroads when all that guardrail and that fence at the back is taken down. That's just an ordinary country crossroad.
It's a new team for Andy, but it's not really a new car. I mean, the same kind of car that the Dyson team back in the United States runs, and Andy's driven for many years.
Can't think of many people you'd rather have behind the wheel of your car in an endurance race than Andy Wallace.
Well, Andy Wallace ticked me off enormously because I was here in 1988. I think I was working for another TV network, and on the way home in the airplane, of course, sitting in front of me was the winner, Andy Wallace, who had just driven in his first Le Mans 24-hour race, which he won. And when I said, boy, you know, that was great, what's it feel like? And he said, well, that's what you're supposed to do, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work.
Thank you very much. Supposed to be doing that, but...
Got a pit stop here, and this is the Intersport, Lola, and it looks as though we are getting the drivers changed. Clint Field getting in. That's Duncan Dayton, who is hopping out of the car. And, of course, Duncan Dayton's Highcroft racing team, after Le Mans, is going to be back with, I believe, the rest of the season, running a very similar car to this, as well at the remainder of the American Le Mans series. But Clint Field now behind the wheel.
Duncan Dayton, a very, very successful historic racer, drives a lot of historic cars, including a lot of Formula 1 cars, some of which are not that old, and he has now won more Formula 1 races at Monte Carlo than Ayrton Senna did.
That's a fun stat.
Good driver, old Duncan Dayton.
I've watched him run the 78 Lotus that Mario Andretti took to the World Championship at Road America. And I mean, the guy hustles those cars incredibly well. As you said, he drives Benettons and Ferraris, and actually at Road Atlanta during the Walter Mitty Historics a few years ago, he's driving the I believe it was the Reynard that Jacques Villeneuve won the kart championship with and won Indy that year, and he broke the outright track record at Road Atlanta pre-chicane. So just amazing. Here are some of the American drivers, as a matter of fact, talking about that are here, and as you can see, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, obviously led by Duncan Dayton in the 33 car with young Clint Field in there. He's only 22 years old. Liz Halliday also driving that car. John Macaluso, Andy Lally, a very accomplished driver. Johnny O'Connell in the Corvette. Chris McAllister, Bill Binney. Terry Borchella, another very, very successful driver. Tracy Cohn, his first time here. Van Overbeck. Patrick Long, a Porsche driver, of course, official factory driver. Gunnar Jeanette, famous father as well. Tom Milner, another famous father.
Gunnar Jeanette ought to upset you as well, because I was looking at his stat. He's something like 23 years old, and this is his 6th Le Mans. I mean, it's just unbelievable how young he got going now. At this stage of the race, certainly the Audi still having things going very well, running 1-2, but in the morning warm-up, Alan McNish's hand went in the air, and at first people thought maybe they were just bringing him in just to check things over, but not the case. He had a bit of a problem, sent him back out, and even more smoke.
And that is not diesel smoke either. That's gearbox smoke.
Then, in the first hour of the race, right here, watch the number 20 Pillbeam come right across, split the two Audis, and then, just about 7 minutes ago, a huge moment here. Watch the lockup. That is Capello. Got away from him. forced the other car right up over the curbing. That was the Vinny Motorsport Zytek. He was able to gather it up, but David, at that point, you noted he lost a lot of time vis-a-vis his margin over Werner.
Well, of course, the thing about those escapades where you leap over the curb, we've already saw what happened to the 007 Aston Martin. Went over the curb and punched a hole in the pan, the oil pan. I mean, anything can happen when you start leaping over the curb sideways like that. So, what I said at the top of the show, you need a bit of luck, and you really do have to have a bit of luck. That could have gone horribly wrong there, and that was because he was forcing the pace past a lap car. Quite frankly, the Audi drivers don't need to be forcing no pace.
Now, 13-second lead went down to a 3-second lead, but I see now that he's forcing the pace again because he's back up to almost 5-second lead.
They are throwing down some awfully quick times early. Meanwhile, we understand big developments down in the Panos pit. Andrew?
Yes, indeed, some very despondent faces down here. The 77 car, Gunnar Jeanette, currently at the wheel, has stopped out on the circuit. The team are still trying to assess what the problem is, but this looks pretty desperate from the boys from Brazelton. So I'll bring you some more news when I've found out.
Thanks, Andrew, and that's very bad news indeed. Of course, starting the season so well with the big win at Sebring, and have struggled a little bit since then, but nonetheless, we're looking for a good run here.
Well, it's down in 38th spot
might have been
already.
I think that could have been it limping along back there. They might have gotten it stopped for a while at one of the Marshall posts, but maybe they've got it limping back toward the pit. I'm not sure that was it, though.
Capello, after that bit of a moment, his little wiggle there as well, and that's one of the things that they've been dealing with here, the immense torque that these engines produce, and the traction control, although they may even have the technology for it, it's just tearing. And again, we've seen that before. And earlier in the race, we saw McNish almost go off the track on one of the sections as well. We're expecting him into the pits at this point.
Yeah, WR Peugeot was wandering down the road in a particularly fast pit. That's the rundown from R9 to the Porsche curves. These cars are doing about 200 miles an hour. And cars like that Porsche should, that WR car, Peugeot rather, not WR.
That's one of our prototype
should
cars.
Not be in the way.
It's off the racetrack, and the corner workers from all over the world here doing a great job. They're pulling him back to a safe area and covering themselves with the yellow flag.
I almost wonder, is that the Advan?
That's I can't tell.
See the number on it. It is. It's the number 13 Advan car, which had qualified 5th. And everybody was anticipating that if that car, that they run the 4-liter Mugen, which is the reliability a little bit suspect there, and certainly in terms of a 24-hour race, but they said if it held together, the driver lineup and the speed it was showing certainly had potential. Here is Capello,
who pitted last on lap 29.
Saw a bit of gravel on that close-up shot there, already getting onto the track there up at the top of the Dunlop curve. That's the sort of thing that can catch you out badly. And of course, if you run over just a few bits of gravel on these tightly packed asphalt surfaces, it can easily cut a tire down.
And by the way, gentlemen, before we see what looks certainly to be an Audi pit stop, let's check in again with Andrew on the situation with Panos.
I've got Don Panos just joining me here. Don, can you... Don's shaking his head. He's very upset about this situation. The car has stopped at the Porsche curves. Gunnar Jeanette at the wheel. It's some fuel vapor problem. Obviously, it's a very hot day. So that seems to be the problem. So disappointment right here, and I don't think this car is going to go any further. Their 10th year here at Panos. They gave Don, of course, the cake on Thursday, but I don't think he'll be having much to celebrate this weekend.
Well, thanks very much, Andrew. Obviously, if there's going to be a fix out there, Gunnar's got to do it.
14 laps complete again, and this is the 15th. This is when the car stopped last time under green. Again, 2 laps further than the Pescarolo can go, and at a faster pace. That's a little bit bleak, as we heard Emmanuel Collard refer to it.
This is the Belter Racing entry, and we saw...
That's the guy.
Oh, dear.
My God, what's he doing?
Hey,
he's the guy that was wandering down the road in front of the Audi just a moment ago. Now he's spread all that gunge on the track.
Well, I saw just something happen really quick on the feed just a moment before we got the report from Andrew. So I think that may have happened, and maybe that's why he was going so slow. But he went from airplane to submarine, or tried to do, and a couple of corners there, and obviously he's done something to the car, and they brought him in.
He's got a left rear damage on the rear suspension. I saw when they dropped it. Take a look again at this. This is just pure ugly as he turns in.
I think this is... there's anything wrong with the car here. I think he just goofs up, Gets it buried. Look at this. Goes across there, up into the curb, bang onto the other curb, then buries the nose in the dirt. Whoa!
That could have been really bad right there.
Jeepers, and then comes out across the other side of the S-bend.
It looked to me like he was turning in incredibly early.
I do not know what's up there. Something go wrong with the car, I think.
You turn in early when you get that feeling you're about to die. You know, it's like if the brakes aren't working.
Well, I'm not sure whether Frederick Houchard is one of the 37 drivers who've never driven here before. And judging by that, it doesn't look like he's driven anywhere much before.
Well, that's a tough little car to take that kind of abuse.
It is very solid. Good look there at Marco Werner, sitting in the second spot right now in the number 8 Audi R10 TDI.
The fuel mileage is amazing on these cars.
Stunning.
They're showing us, 15 lap runs. No one else has gone past 13.
Well, you saw the body language when Collard was being interviewed by Andrew. I mean, talk about.
Yeah,
I mean, looked like he was going to the old tumbrils.
Well, the last few laps, even these Audis have been running low 34s, low 35s, and the two Pescarollas have been running 39s and 41s. So, I mean, they're just seconds faster at this stage and going much longer on fuel. And now we see it is Werner who is bringing the number 8 down into pit lane for its stop. Well, and we are up in both of them. We also have Capello in as well.
At 2 laps a stint, you're going to pick up a couple of pit stops.
I would certainly think so. Let's get down to Brian Till.
Greg, the Audi's come down pit road. It is the 7 that makes it to his stop first. Capello in the car, shaking his head no for some reason, and made some kind of a motion like there was a vibration in the car. We'll have to take a look at that. They will replace the little windscreen that kicks the air up over the driver's head on Capello's car. Meanwhile, Werner comes in right behind him. Looks like routine stops on both of these cars. It'll be a full load of fuel. I see no tires being even laid out for the 7 nor for the 8. It looks like they'll double stint them. Should be routine stops. Capello should be back underway. He's won this thing twice. Will it be third time a charm?
Interesting that they didn't opt to do tires on that 7 car after that big moment he had sliding across the grass and the curbs, and maybe that was the vibration, but maybe
that's
it
probably
cleaned
what he was
itself up.
saying. Don't change the tires. I would say is what he was saying, because they probably felt just fine to him. I'm sure the Michelin guys had to have a look at him now.
So Werner follows him out, and the 2 Audis once again back on track, and it appears as we take a look at our scoring monitor that they once again did not even give up the lead. We hop on board with the Corvette, and we'll be right back to the 24 hours of Le Mans. And welcome back, everybody, to the 74th running of the Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. As you can see by the welcome back, it is an event, a happening for many a party, and certainly probably the greatest race in the world, certainly the greatest sports car race in the world. And we've been watching some of the developments here, and we were watching, it appeared, the number 7 of Capello had a bit of a moment and made another run down pit lane. Brian?
Greg, the 7 just came back in. Dindo Capello behind the wheel. The only thing they adjusted was that small inch to inch and a half inch windscreen in front of him. There was a big rubber mark on the cowling right in front of it, like almost a ball of rubber had come up off the track and hit it. But as small as that is, it is a very, very important piece of the car. And Dorsey, I'm sure, can shed some light on that.
Yeah, actually, he's sitting so low in the car, Brian, that even though it's only an inch and a half tall, that rubber mark obscured his vision. He couldn't see through the windscreen, so they had to come in and take care of that. As we see, it looks like one of the spikers is getting pushed into the behind the barrier down there.
And the number 16 Courage in the hands of Eric Comas is down in the pits as well, getting a pit some service, and that car comes in from 3rd overall at this point. Looks like he is going to stay on board, no driver change. And they have tires there, but I don't see them making any serious moves to bring them out.
Get 90 liters of fuel put in. He's done with that.
Well, a very, very smooth, quick stop, obviously, as we go on board with the Corvette. Speaking of on board the Corvette, we are going to be chatting with a driver who recently was on board and is now getting a well-deserved break. And he is down in the pits on one of our pit cameras, and that is Ollie Gavin. And Ollie, first of all, congratulations on an absolutely great run in the early going here. And the first thing I want to ask you at this stage is, we're looking at the pace, the best laps versus the consistent laps. And you guys seem to, even in the early going here, have the measure of the Aston Martins. You must be very happy.
Yeah, we are. It's going to plan. I mean, it was a fraught start. It was, for some reason, the P car that was just in front of me right at the start had a problem. And Darren, who was right in front of me in the Aston, got held up. And so I then went to the left, followed Pedro, sat behind Pedro for about 6 laps. And I was surprised with our straight line speed compared to them, because they have always been very strong here. So, you know, it was nice to see. We had a good measured sort of first 6 or 7 laps, and then came in for a stop. The boys did a great job, got us out in front. And I think we ended up with about a 20-second lead by the end of that stint. So very pleased with the way that the pace is going, and also that the car seems to be running. It's hot. It's the conditions were quite strange at times out there in that first hour and a half or so. It seemed that there was a lot of fluid going down, a lot of people dragging stuff back onto the track. So it was tricky at times, but handed the car over to Olivier. Olivier's kept the good work up, and the C6 is running fantastically.
By the way, just want to remind everybody, the video you're seeing to screen right of Ollie, you're on board with Max Pappas in the 63 car. And wanted to also, it seems like this good start to the race started 2 weeks ago, because by all accounts, everything that I've heard from you and Johnny and everybody, that was the best pre-test you guys had ever had. And you came out of there, you said, with a great race setup, great tire setup, been so much good things happening there that hadn't really evolved before.
Well, yeah, it was a very, very good test for us. It was the best we'd ever had. And we were hoping that we could be able to carry that on into the race week. But unfortunately, it rained about 10 minutes before the start of practice on the Wednesday. That washed out that whole test and practice session. And so then by the time we got through to the Thursday, the track had completely changed. So the setup that we had from the test was completely wrong. So we had to sort of go back again, start again, and find our way. But as always, all the engineers, all the boys in the team have done a fantastic job. And now we've got a pretty good race car. The track has come to us a little bit, we feel, but we've still got a little bit of work to do. Some minor little things we've got to adjust to get the things absolutely right. But we feel that we're in a good position. It's going to be flat-out racing for the next 21 hours or so. I think that the Aston's going to be right there. As long as both cars are reliable, I can't see that there's going to be any let-up in the pace. I think it's going to be full-on.
Ollie, the Corvette team came into this weekend. Everybody has made comment. The Aston guys have made comment. How completely relaxed it seems in your camp.
Well, in some ways it has been very relaxed, but in other ways it's been quite tense at times. It's been, you know, sometimes there's been the odd little thing here and there has been a little bit of a niggle, but no, generally everybody feels very under control, and everybody seems to be, you know, quite relaxed and in control of things. You know, it's been a good couple of weeks for us.
Ollie, quick last question for you here. You mentioned the rain on Wednesday. There is now a forecast that includes some possible rain here as we get into late morning, early afternoon through the finish tomorrow. A lot of reports that this track was just diabolical with some of the paving that's been done in the wet. What do you look, you know, what's your sense of that should it happen?
You just got to deal with it when it comes. I mean, you can't really do much with the car setup. You've got to set the car up for the dry, so you can't really have a special sort of thing that you do, because it's just going to take too long to try and adjust for the wet. When it comes, you just got to try and deal with it, put the wet tyres on, maybe change a sway bar, maybe put a little bit of gurney on, maybe put a little bit more rear wing on. You've got to deal with the traction control. You can adjust that in the car, brake balance, all those sort of things, but you just have to deal with the pavement and the conditions as they happen. And that's part of the deal with the 24-hour race. You've just got to deal with it.
And multi-class racing and sports car racing and spray and visibility and all of that. It will be awfully interesting if it happens. Thanks so much for taking some time. Thanks. You've earned a bit of a rest. Go grab one and hydrate, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
All right, folks, that's Ollie Gavin. We really appreciate him stopping by. And here's a stat that I think really says everything about the success of Corvette racing at Le Mans over the past number of years. You notice only 1 year there where they didn't go 1-2.
Yeah, they've had an incredible year. Amazing. You know, we said they look pretty relaxed down there. There's a big team. There's a lot of them here. There's a big group, and they are really on top of things all the time. But obviously, one thing that also will affect them if it does rain later on in the race is the old windscreen by then will be getting a bit pitted and a bit messed up. They might have to change that to before they go out in the rain, because it'll be a terrible mess.
Absolutely. We'll have to keep track of that. And we are going to step away real quick. The number 64 Corvette currently 17 seconds ahead of the Aston Martin. Wednesday night on Speed, don't miss. Pride, passion, and titles are all on the line in ultimate head-to-head quarter-mile matchups. The rules are simple. Lose the race, you lose your ride. Wednesday night, 9 Eastern, 8 Pacific, only on Speed. Welcome back, everybody. A good look here at the number 12. One of the Courage Mugen cars from Courage Competition is down in the pits, and we are seeing the number 73 Corvette, or 63 Corvette, sorry about that, make a run down into the pits, and you can see on the back corner, left rear corner, some damage there, and one of the Aston Martins following it in. There's that damage, and obviously one would have to suspect that came as a result of that spin that O'Connell had in the contact, but it looks like it may be getting worse. Well, it certainly has come unglued big time. It did hit the guardrail. It was a fairly good thump, but it looked pretty unscathed at the time, but obviously it has come back to haunt them. And Max Pappas is doing some really good sterling work. He pulled the car back up about 30 places, so he was going really, really well, but this is going to pull him back a bit.
Well, remember, they're going.
Well, looking at the back of the car, they've taped it up a lot, guys, but you can only tape so much at the speeds that they're going down these long straightaways. They will take this opportunity to do tires, fuel, and a driver change. You look at that damage right there. They take these large pieces of duct tape, put them together, and then try to tape them in a big Band-Aid type patch, but Band-Aids don't work at close to 200 miles an hour.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Brian. It's at 200 miles per hour, the Band-Aid does not work. They're going to have to get some rivets and some aluminum or something to give that some reinforced strength. But they're going to go with the Band-Aid. Of course, it'd be a lot easier to do this, you know, to do a big repair if without a caution.
Yeah, those are some massive pieces of very, very sticky vinyl now that they're going to try and do it with. But this is exactly the kind of thing that bites you at Le Mans. One problem builds to another problem and then builds to another problem.
Well, you can imagine the amount of pressure that's on that. 200 miles per hour is faster than single-engine aircraft can fly. So.
And of course, in that wheel arch area at the back there, tremendously disturbed there as well, sucking off the ground, and it gives you no leeway at all for touching any other.
I should say most single.
That's that new pit exit, which I must say.
Oh, the Ferrari is having a moment there.
Not 100% convinced it's a very good exit.
And there's the number 17 Pescarolo in the hands of the legend, the god here in France, Sebastien Loeb. So you can expect to be seeing a lot of him, and deservedly so. But we also want to welcome somebody to the booth, and it is the president and CEO of the American Le Mans Series, Scott Atherton. And great to see you here, making the trip to the other side of the pond, as it were. And once again, you've got to be pretty pleased with how teams that are contesting the American Le Mans Series are doing right here.
Well, they did great in qualifying. It's early hours yet, but so far so good.
This is the namesake series, obviously. What gave the American Le Mans Series its birth and its voice and its existence, and it has grown and done so much good stuff. And I mean, it's going to be tough to beat last year with the results that American Le Mans Series teams put up.
Yeah, it was. When you think of the 4 classes and the 3 podiums available in each class, I think we took home 8 or 9 out of 12. So not a bad year, including the first overall last year. That'd be a tough year to beat.
This, you mentioned it's early on right now in this race, but so far being here just through the event at this stage, what are you taking away from it at this point? What have you learned? What have you seen, or what surprised you even?
Well, you look at the reinvestment that the ACO has made in the facility here, and that's the first thing that strikes you. You know, the event seems to grow in size and stature every year. The perfect weather they've got here this year has got to bring a record crowd. I just came walking through the village, and it's standing room only everywhere you look. So I wish we could transplant every American Le Mans Series fan here just once, because they'd come away changed forever.
I would agree with that. This is a truly remarkable experience, and the fact that Don Panos and the American Le Mans Series are trying to bring that to the States, and it has had a lot of success, really, I think, is spectacular. We're looking at the Essex entry that is down, and this is going to undergo a long stop. What are you hearing from any of the teams here that maybe aren't running in the American Le Mans Series right now that are interested? We've certainly heard lots of rumors. What have you heard that may be concrete?
Yeah, this is the time of year where there's a lot of inquiries being made. We have European teams that would like to come and run Petite Le Mans and potentially do both Petite and the finale at Laguna. We're always working to that end, and frankly, I'm looking forward to getting back to the States and getting back into the American Le Mans Series. You know, next up for us is Lime Rock.
Hang on 1 second. Let's get down to Brian Till, who's with the number 64 CompuWare pit stop.
Greg, this is your leader in the GT1 class. Olivier Beretta just got out. Jan Magnussen got in. Remember, this team has won this event the last 2 years. They'd love to make it 3 in a row for the 64 car. Magnussen, just magic behind the wheel of almost anything he drives. A routine stop. 4 new Michelin tires they'll take, driver change and fuel. Nothing awry here. Body work looks in good condition. Not a mark on the car, guys.
We watched these guys practice this pit stop, and the huge amount of fans that are here gave huge amounts of cheering and carrying on. They love watching these guys do those pit stops.
Well, they do a lot of practicing, and of course that's what you need for this to win these races, because they are so competitive now. There is just no quarter given. You can't give up. You can't slow down at all. And that 63 incident with the guardrail is obviously going to come back and haunt them big time as this race progresses.
Scott, getting back to what we were chatting about, obviously at the very next race at Lime Rock for the American Le Mans Series, it will still be the R8, but after that, we're expecting both of the R10 TDIs.
That's exactly right. So, you know, anybody wanting to see history being made will literally be the last running of the R8, and what an incredible career it's had. And then beginning at Salt Lake City, we'll have the 2 diesel Audis. Coming into the series at Lime Rock will be a second Ferrari 430 under Giuseppe Risi. I think you'll also see potentially one of the 2 Lexus GT2 entries. I think for sure we'll have both of them with us at Salt Lake, potentially one with us at Lime Rock. So some new content coming into the season literally at the midway point, and a lot happening for 2007.
A lot, as you pointed out, and one of those things we're hearing about is a tremendous development with Acura.
Yeah, got to be careful what you wish for here, you know, when you're Audi and Porsche as far as the competition goes. But expecting the minimum of 4 cars that'll debut with Sebring in 2007. I think they've selected both Courage and Lola chassis to begin with, and hopefully team announcements to be made in the near future.
Well, that's one of the big stories, is a lot of teams interested, and it's who do you whittle it down to, and there are some pretty solid teams that we understand are in the running. We've also, and again, it's rumors, but we've heard Creation is looking at maybe trying to put together a multi-car program for next year based on funding. I mean, that's always the story.
Exactly.
But one thing that is fact is the American Le Mans Series, in terms of a full season championship, is a lot of people want to be there.
No question about it. Yeah, it's we are very closely working with the ACO right now to make sure that the 2007 schedule gives all the European teams an opportunity to compete at least at Sebring and at Petite, and to be able to send their freight across the ocean in a container rather than in an airplane. That's a big factor for the teams that would like to come and run in the series.
And we have to talk. Well, you talked about Porsche being worried about Acura and wonder what you wish for. It's going to be tough for anybody to top what Porsche did at Mid-Ohio. I mean, that Penske Porsche program, what a race.
Yeah, after a couple of tough outings, you know, with Sebring and Houston behind them, I think they showed the true colors here, and what an incredible combination Penske and Porsche is together. And I don't know that we want to see an LMP2 winning overall on a regular basis, but that was quite a stellar performance.
And of course, if you've got the Acura coming in next year with even a couple of teams, and you've got Lexus there, and of course you've got Porsche now, and Audi with the diesel. What about Peugeot? Do you think they're likely to come across with the diesel eventually?
You know, that's a good question. The fact that they currently at least don't sell road cars in North America is a bit of a factor, but a month or so ago, I was told by the general manager at Sebring that they'd had inquiries from Peugeot looking for hotel rooms and asking about track testing, and I wouldn't count them out for Sebring, but right now, very much unconfirmed.
We should say also that although it's very similar, it's not a mirror image. American Le Mans Series has some different rules about them governing the United States faction of this.
Yeah, it's in the early years, it literally was a mirror image. And the reality is the rules and regulations that apply to a single 24-hour event don't always translate perfectly over into a 10-race series across 8 months on the calendar and across North America. So thankfully, over time, our relationship and I think the trust that the ACO has put in both the American Le Mans Series and IMSA, our sanctioning body, now gives us a certain amount of autonomy to be able to still maintain the respect of that Le Mans connection, but also put some rules in place that make sense for a 10-race series.
And most of these rules are really rules to the car itself, you know, adaptation of different things that, you know, you could run the car over the United States and you can run it over here. As we see one of the spikers in trouble, the 85.
Well, we've been watching that car. It had been limping around and stopping and starting and stopping. But on the other side of the coin, we just saw, if you were watching the graphic there, the 86, the team car, is leading in the LMGT2 category right now, which is just a remarkable development for this program.
And they sell these cars in the United States, David.
Well, they've made it back. I thought we'd probably seen the last of that. He was stuck down on the straight. He was in one of the chicanes on the main straight. That's, what, 4 miles from here, but they've got it back.
It must be like an electrical problem of some sort or something, because they got it pop started. You saw the marshals there lending a hand. Now it's running on its own.
Of course, the Spiker has the Audi A8 V8 engine in there. The engine you'd find in the Audi A8, obviously tuned up a bit, but still all a good, reliable motor for these guys to use.
Yep, it's going to go in the garage. You see him putting the little casters under it, which always means they're taking it back and out of the harm's way to do some major work.
Watching here now again on the world feed, the number 76. That was a car that qualified on pole, then had the little development with the chassis, and they were allowed to run but start at the back, and they're fighting their way back into things as well. As a matter of fact, up to second in the category right now. But Scott, one of the things we were chatting a little bit about the development with Peugeot. Well, of course, they made a big announcement here, and what we want to do is take you back to that as Andrew Marriott talked to the president of Peugeot, one of the top gentlemen there, about the unveiling and the future of this potentially really strong program.
We thought that winning with a diesel engine at Le Mans was a very great challenge for us.
You took this decision, I believe, before Audi made their announcement. You were both thinking in the same direction.
Yes, but what is important for us when we enter a new challenge is to win. But to win against competitors, great ones. And I think that Audi is a great competitor because they won Le Mans several times. We have to be clear. We don't think that we will be able to win in 2007. It's 2008 that is the year for us to win Le Mans with the diesel engine.
So that was the announcement, and the interesting thing is the question is going to be that they kind of skirted, from what I understand, to be honest, is what's the car going to look like? A lot of engine, and there are rumors it may be a coupe, and we're hearing rumors that ACO may decide the future of Le Mans might be coupe, and wondering what that might translate to for the American Le Mans Series.
Yeah, the ACO held their annual press conference yesterday, and they did show a graphic or an illustration of what would potentially be a 2010 LMP1, and that illustration was a closed-top car, a coupe, as you say. And right now, I think it's a discussion that's taking place. They're inquiring with a lot of manufacturers. They inquired with us this week for our feedback. You know, right now it's a choice, and the rules, the way they're written, seem to favor the open-top version. But you know, I love the look of a closed-top prototype, and we'd love to see them run, and have to see what manufacturers do in embracing the new plans for. You know, what's important now is stability through 2009, with new rules to come in 2010.
But the thing about an open car is that you do get even with the modern cars where the car comes well up the side and the safety is such that the driver's in a much more of a cocoon than he ever used to be. There's just something about those open cars to watch them. You know, you never quite. I mean, look at this now. You have no idea who's really in that car.
Right.
I mean, swoopy. Obviously, the old IMSA GTP prototypes, you know, back 10, 15 years were terrific.
Yeah, when they were running the coupes in IMSA, they didn't seem to have a real problem with crowd caring about the identification factor. They just loved the look of those cars. So that's the deal. All right, Scott, we want to say thanks very much. Appreciate you stopping by and, as always, giving us the information. We hope the rest of your weekend is just fun. Go out and enjoy some great car racing and have a good time.
Thanks, Greg. We're looking forward to getting back to the States and back to the American Le Mans Series.
That's right. 2 weeks after this race, folks. It's the American Le Mans at Lime Rock. So, and there is the Pescarolo Sport pit area, and they are sitting, watching, and hoping. But it is the Audis right now that are in control here at the 74th Michelin 24 Hours of Le Mans. Welcome back to Le Mans, everybody, and if you're just joining us, here's what happened in the first hour at the start. The two Audis with, what, 1,200 Newton-pounds of torque launched into the lead. The Pescarolos could do nothing about it. Shortly thereafter, number 69, and that is Babini in the Aston Martin, a huge shunt over at the exit of the Porsche curves, and it was probably caused as the 007 Aston came across some curves, ripped off the oil pan, and dumped a bunch of oil. Meanwhile, the Audis, also a very close moment, as the Pilbeam spun right in front of the second-place car. In the second hour, things went awry for the number 63 Corvette. Ride and enjoy this moment, although they didn't. Damage. Johnny O'Connell said it just got away from him. They weren't sure why. The left rear corner damage, so we've seen more problems with that. The number 50 Ferrari 550 Maranello, you see the right rear tire has gone down comprehensively. And then in the third hour, another close call for the Audi, this time Dindo Capello, who put it on pole, tried to get down underneath the Binny car, wasn't confident apparently, and then he came into the pits and he was obviously upset about something. Went back out, however, and then one of the more spectacular moments of the race is the Belter Racing Peugeot went airborne and then turned into a shovel and then spun.
Boy, it sure did, didn't it? It was oil, and he had just walked one of the leading Audis terribly badly on the lap before, so I suspect the driver in that car is somewhat inexperienced.
The Valvoline reset, you can take a look at the stats there, and we also have a driver change in the number 7 second place car. Capello stepping out, and Tom Christensen, who I think quickly is just becoming known as TK, is getting behind the wheel. What a remarkable story he sees, and you see on his helmet right there, that's his autograph, Tom K, and a smiley face.
Now, here's the deal. This is only 10 laps after the last time they stopped. We know they can run 15. So that's a little bit premature.
I didn't hear wheel spin then, did I?
Don't say it.
Oh my gosh.
3 minute
Instant dismissal.
3 minute penalty if you spin your tires. Oh,
how do you not chirp a diesel with that much torque? I just don't understand. Yeah. I wonder if this is related at all to the problems that Brian Till was talking about with that little windscreen that wraps around. It dislodged, it apparently mounts down into the electronic dash area, and that's been having some problems, and maybe they needed to come in and get Christensen in the car and make that change.
Well, what Brian was telling us is that windscreen, you know, it got hit by a piece of rubber. Now that windscreen, it takes and deflects the air up and above the driver's helmet and head area. Well, that being said, it's separated there, and it's causing huge buffeting, and it's starting to tear away at the dashboard itself. To fix it, Brian thinks they'd have to take the complete dash out, which is not, I can tell you, not an easy thing to do.
Well, it's all electronics.
Yeah, you got
it could be half an hour's job, that.
Plus, I think you got to take the center bodywork up to get at it. But with only 10 laps on that fuel run, there's something going on there.
Something stirring.
Saw that graphic, the development graphic, the GT2 leaders and the 76 car, which had qualified on pole and then went to the back because of the work on the car and started last, is back in the lead of the GT2 ranks at this stage. And as we watch Marco Werner working his way around, and a little bit loose there, we understand Brian Till may, wait a minute, Brian, we have a fairly big shunt out on the track.
Don't know what that is.
Bodywork off the car.
Is that the Radical? I can't really say that it is. It's just no body left on the front. And we got fire and an explosion.
No, he's trying to drive it.
I don't think he realizes how badly it's damaged,
he's
obviously.
Trying to do something with it.
Oh, it's one of the Belmondo cars, isn't it?
The right rear tire exploded. That's a tire failure. Catastrophic tire failure. Right rear. Woo. What a wild ride this one is.
And that is down by...
And it is on fire.
The grass on fire because they've had no rain here except Wednesday night for weeks. Boy, that was a bad one. That was going down from Mulsanne towards Indianapolis, I believe.
That's Jan Claret, one of the drivers in the Belmondo entry. That's a Megachrome Ford badged for it, I should say.
And nothing that driver could do. That was a right rear explosion. You saw the bodywork get ripped off, and then once that's gone, you're just a passenger, David.
That's exactly where we saw the Dumbreck car fly off just in 1999, just about 300 or 400 yards. He's just about to go into the start of the Indianapolis complex, but that was an incredibly comprehensive departure from the race.
Well, and the first car through all that mess was Christensen. Just saw him duck through the turn, and there were marshals all over the track trying to pick debris up.
Well,
I wonder if this may bring out the safety car.
Well, these cars are made of carbon fiber and, of course, Kevlar, and when they're very, very strong, but they don't have much flex to them, and when they break into shards, and that's what can be dangerous. You have shards of that stuff lying all over the track. It really needs cleaning up a bit before they should have a safety car, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
where it is anyway, they're bound to have a safety car.
Well, no matter how well a tire is made, it could get cut down by, as you said, those shards. So we'll see what happens here. Meanwhile, let's quickly get back down to Brian Till, who has caught up with Max Pappas.
Well, Max Pappas just got out of the 63 car, and oddly enough, Max, when you got out, you're alone here in the garage.
Absolutely. I want to say hi to my family at home, Tati, all my dogs, and Marco. He's coming in 4 weeks. I miss you very much, guys. You know, we have, on the racing side, we had definitely a steep beginning of the race. Unfortunately, Johnny, lost the car, and we don't really know why, and we had to use a repair. The car is not really as good as we wanted to be. The Corvette is running a little bit, with the steering wheel tilt to the left in the braking zone. The car is pulling right and left a little bit. It's definitely tough, but we still have many hours to go, and the crew guys here are fantastic. Dan Binks is #1. He's going to fix my car, so I'm going to go really fast at the end of the race.
Talk about fixing the cars. Check this out. An old stock car trick is to take this duct tape, tape pieces together and make a big patch. That's what we thought they were doing, but indeed, this is what they're putting on the car. And actually, one of the guys, Ross Jeffrey, on the 64 car, invented this stuff. And what it is a piece of laminate, which several millimeters thick, sticky as crazy, guys, and it holds the car back together.
All right, Brian, we're going to jump in here. Christensen, the #7, the car going into the garage. Now, we saw he was the first car. 1, he stopped short, only 10 laps. 2, he came through that accident scene, and then they were.
There's, you see the marks on the nose there where that rubber hit it. I'm sure that he's counting on there being a safety car now.
Well, they've got the engine cover off, so this is not addressing the situation where the rubber hit. This is a different problem altogether. They're working at the back of the car.
Now, this is the car that in the morning warm-up had all the problems with the gearbox, had the change. They thought it was half shaft. It turned out to be gearbox, a lot of smoke, and they went for the change. Now, Christensen stays on board.
This is where you want the high-resolution camera on the roof that can go right over the heads of all those people.
Now, remember at the beginning of the show, I said that Audi said they were going to run a really hard pace because they didn't think they'd make it through this race without having to fix some of these problems.
I think that's what they are doing. I think they're doing the dashboard, see? The guy's attacking the dashboard. But I'm amazed that there is no safety car out.
I am too. And
I can't believe it.
And it would make sense, wouldn't it, Dorsey, that they'd have to get the rear body work off because some of the electronic management would probably be back there for the dash.
Well, I don't know what they're doing with no safety car, because that car that's out there on the circuit is not going to go anywhere.
It's one of the worst places on the track. It's at the fastest part of the track, down at the bottom of the hill there, braking for the corner.
Quite dangerous right there, all that debris on the racetrack.
Very dangerous.
Let's see if we can check in with Brian Till, who's now made his way down to the Audi pit. Brian?
Well, Greg, I'm too short for this. I can't see over all these guys, but what I can see is there is a new dash laying on the left side of the 7 car, so they will be making that dash repair. And although you speculate there would be some wiring in the back that they'd have to change, I don't think that that's correct. It should just be plug and play. So what it should be is the dash should just unplug and plug another one in. Now, obviously, there are going to be some mounting bolts. These guys working feverishly in the back of that diesel engine. Of course, I can't see it from where I am, but they are definitely working on something in the back, and I can't believe it would be connected to the dash.
No, I don't think so either, Brian. I think there's 2 separate problems there that you're going to have to deal with. And I'm sure that the dash situation is something that you wouldn't even contemplate having go wrong, a piece of rubber come up and hit that.
Well, and I also think that I'm absolutely convinced that Tom Christensen came in then because he was dead sure there'd be a safety car.
Yeah, I'm sure of that, too. If I was in the car, I would certainly say, having gone through that crash site, that there's going to be a full-course car.
And he was the first one through there. On the scene, you're going to be saying, oh, my God, this could take half an hour to clear up.
Just another one of those interesting things about endurance racing, and now don't mount a windscreen onto an electronic dash unit. I mean, who would think, exactly that would happen?
We saw the dome there, just a brief picture of the dome with Stefan Johansson at the wheel. Here's
This
the
is
other, the other Courage. Obviously having a good look around that.
Yeah, the Belmondo entry. This is the team car to the one that had the huge tire.
Because we're assuming the tire went and the suspension didn't collapse.
Yeah, that's true indeed. Well, let's go back and take a look at that incident. Here it is.
Right rear. Look at the right rear. There goes the tire. Huge explosion. Blows the bodywork off. Shrapnels. And this is where the crash just starts. There's trouble here because we start bouncing off the guardrail. Almost goes upside down.
There is so much junk and clag and bits and pieces on the track. I can't believe there's no safety car.
Well, we're all a little bit dumbfounded by that. We'll step away for a moment, and we'll be back to sort everything out. Wednesday on Speed, unique whips. Tricks out your TV. Tune in as Will Cass